In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to use the while statement in VisualBasic.net. The while statement allows you to iterate through a section of code an indefinite number of times until a certain condition is met. Let's take a look at this example that I've created. First of all, I dimension two variables, a counter variable as an integer and a value as an integer, and I set both of these values to 0. Then you'll see the construct of my while statement. The first is a keyword called while, and then there's an expression, in this case, while value is less than 50, then end while. So as long as this statement is true, that value is less than 50, the loop will continue. In other words, this code will run that many times. So it might take 1 time, 0 times, or maybe 1,000 times in order to complete the iterations through this code that's contained in these 2 lines. You can put as much information or many lines of code as you want to in the course of a while statement. So at the very end, well, let's talk about this actual code that I wrote. We increment the counter by saying counter equals counter plus 1. This is going to allow us to track how many times our while statement looped through in order to break through the condition of value is less than 50. And this is where we change the value of the variable value. We come up with some algorithm. In this case, it's value plus 2, and take the result of that and multiply it by 2. So the next time that it comes around, it'll check to see if it's still less than 50, and if it's still less than 50, then the next time it'll take whatever that value was, add 2 to it, and multiply it by 2, and continue on until we get a number that's larger than 50. At the very end, I have a line which says console.writeLine, so we'll print out to the window the while statement looped this many times. So whatever value was in the counter, how many ever times it looped through this section of code, we'll print it out to the screen. So let's go ahead and save this and then build our project. And now we'll call up our command window. We'll navigate to the bin directory, and we'll go ahead and type in while statement.exe. And it comes back to the while statement looped 4 times. So in other words, just to recap, we started out the value of 0, so 0 plus 2 is 2 times 4. The next time it comes through is 4 plus 2 is 8 times 2 is 16. The next time it loops through, and you get the idea. Now I've added some code to my project, as you can see here, that shows you how to exit out of a while, how to break out of a while statement while it's looping. What we've done this time, we've reset the counter to 0, and we do a check inside our while and end while statements, and if the value is equal to 90, then we exit out of while. So what it'll do is actually break out and not run any more code, and the next line of code that gets operated on is this console.writeLine statement, which again tracks or prints out the number of times that the counter has incremented. So we've set the counter to 0 again. Now we're going to loop through a number of times. The algorithm that operates this time, if the value, so while value is greater than 50, we're going to continue to loop. But if the value ever hits on the number of 90, then we're going to break out of our loop. And we're going to take whatever we started with in the previous example. So this value came out to some number that was, I know, greater than 90. And we're going to loop through a number of times, subtracting 2 from it each time until we hit this point in our code where if value equals 90, then exit while. So let's go ahead and save our code and run this. Okay, the while statement looped 4 times, as we can see here. That was from our first section of code. And then we start the count backwards. The second while statement looped 5 times before it hit the exit while statement. So that pretty much does it for the while statement. There's a number of different ways that you can iterate through code, and the while statement is just one of those approaches. In the next 2 videos, we'll take a look at some variations on the while. For example, the do loop, and then thirdly, the for next loop, which allows us to iterate in different kinds of ways and gives us a little bit more flexibility. But I hope you enjoyed this video on the while loop. Thank you.